Welcome to In Such a Time, conversations on Jewish life, leadership, and meaning. Each week, Rabbis Jonathan Jaffe and Liora Landi explore the moments, questions, and ideas that shape who we are and who we aspire to be. And now, for this week's conversation.
Welcome back to the In Such a Time podcast. I'm Rabbi Jaffe, and I'm here today in a new location and with a surprise guest. I'm here with longtime friend, former colleague, fellow senior rabbi of Temple Emanuel of San Francisco, Ryan Bauer.
Hello.
Although that's not, what's the full title over there?
The Richard and Rhoda Goldman Senior Rabbi.
Kol hakavod.
Thank you.
That's fantastic. So Rabbi Bauer and I are at a conference together right now in Chicago, hence the hotel room lovely background.
And you didn't just choose it just for this.
Exactly.
It goes with my hair.
So I figured that this would be a really lovely time to catch up, and I had some topics to talk to you about. But beforehand, maybe just especially for our listeners from our congregation, you could tell us a little bit about yourself and the congregation.
So the congregation, Emanuel, San Francisco, it's the big shul there. We're a little under 2,000 families. We like to say we're the oldest. I think we're about a month younger than the other synagogue. All started.
Is that true?
Rush.
Yeah.
I think the documents say it.
Yeah.
Which I'm probably, as Emanuel, not supposed to claim that out loud. So sure, they're supposed to be the oldest, but no, I'm pretty sure they're the oldest.
Okay.
And then we split off, and it was like the German synagogue, and now it's kind of the center of San Francisco, Jewish life.
And you've been there for how long now?
Almost 20 years.
Almost 20 years. So
it was hard to believe. The two of us were interns there.
We were there in the summer of 2006.
Yeah.
And you were there, I think, beforehand.
I was there in 2005. I cold called the senior rabbi.
Wow.
And he said, "Send me your resume." It all worked out somehow.
You and I think, first got to know each other, honestly, I think it's like 99, 2000.
Yeah.
Through the work through the Midrash Shah program of the East Bay Federation.
Yes.
And I think we used to go to Center for Jewish Living and Learning meetings together in Oakland, and we
were both Kesher counselors.
Yes.
On the weekends.
Crazy. And now people both trust us somehow to be senior rabbis. It's amazing, right?
A little scary.
So I just want to make sure the mic is on. Okay, good. It's working just fine. So tell us a little about you. You're also a Bay Area native as well, correct? So you've been there all the way through. Tell us a little bit about.
I was born there. My dad came out for his PhD at Stanford.
Mm-hmm.
He was a physicist there, and then the end of it, Texas Instruments wanted him to come back, and he said, I think this computer thing might be a thing in Silicon Valley. Turns out it was a thing, and he was kind of a researcher, before Silicon Valley was money, when it was just science.
Okay.
And so then I went to Berkeley and went to HEC, and I had the chutzpah of deciding, I'm like, I'd be at Emanuel, San Francisco. And it all kind of worked.
We were classmates in LA. I think if I remember correctly, didn't we drive down and carpool for the Hebrew test at HUCLA?
Did we?
I think we did. I mean, that was in 2000. I think we did that together. We drove down the 5. I know it's been a long time.
It's been a very long time.
Yes, it's amazing to catch up with you. So thank you for this.
Good to see you.
So we overlapped from 2006 to 2014. In the summer of 2014, I left to go to Chappaqua, and it's a huge change going from a West Coast urban synagogue to a East Coast suburban synagogue, going from one that was a huge synagogue with, I think we have 5 rabbis, 2 cantors. Is that the same now?
Same, yeah.
And going to a synagogue that now we're at 700 families, so a mid-sized synagogue in the New York suburbs. So tell us a little bit.
And culturally, it's different. I mean, we have people at Emanuel that are from the East Coast.
A lot of
they say, "Whoa, this is not what I grew up in." It's really different.
It's funny. When I interviewed at Bethel, I kind of made the pitch of what I wanted a synagogue to look like. And so much of it came from what I had learned from Emanuel, and things that I had learned and thought of that almost as a reflex were some of that was new. I have Rick Steinberg, the rabbi, he once told me a story that when he interviewed for his job, that he introduced them to this concept called Tat Shabbat. And they were like, whoa, we should have they had invented something.
You should have told them about surfing in the moonlight in Oahu.
I will tell you, by the way, there's something we haven't talked about. Surf scene in New York, overall year round, better than surf scene in San Francisco.
No.
More surfable, more options.
Way colder.
3 to 4 months of the year, no wetsuit. You didn't know this, but
did not know
warm
this.
enough to go.
That is why you make Aliyah to New York. It finally explains it.
And a winter surfing at American Dream Mall.
There's indoor surfing.
Yes, at the mall, next to the indoor ski mountain at the mall, next
So
to
you're a rabbi in Dubai, is what you're saying.
yes, next to the indoor roller coaster park. There, I'm not kidding. It's ridiculous.
Wow.
So next time you come out there, we'll take you to the American Dream Mall just to see something that's utterly ridiculous. Anyways, so we were talking about differences between like what our experiences are. You have, on one hand, been the rabbi of the same synagogue for 20 years. Yeah. And you've also been there. I think now you're about to be the longest tenured full-time clergy there, correct?
Yeah.
Or you are already, I think. So you've gone through.
Yes, I've been the longest full-time clergy.
So you've gone through multiple iterations and different turnovers, whereas very different experience. I came to Bethel and they had gone through a near complete turnover before I got there.
Yeah.
And so I got this sort of fresh slate, like sandbox to build in, which was an amazing opportunity. You've had to sort of do it all bit by bit and change things along the way. So I've been gone since 2014. What would you say are some of the biggest differences now at the synagogue? How's it changed over time?
Part of the way it's changed. I mean, what I was able to do is because I was, as an intern, I could just kind of watch, like, what did Rabbi Pierce do? What did the singers do? And like, look at all the different iterations along the way, and then kind of pick and choose and look at other, synagogues around the country, and then try to form it towards that. So how has it changed? At the moment, I would say we're kind of like, we opened this new building. We did this big, huge campaign.
You raised how much money?
$117 million.
$117 million. It's amazing. And you completely redid this. It's a block in San Francisco. It's not just a block. Yeah. It is a block in one of the most prestigious, most sought after areas in San Francisco.
Yeah. I mean, it was, part of it is like the original architect, what they were trying to do. I mean, it's like the chutzpah of San Francisco was that by the 1906, a huge earthquake happens. The whole city gets destroyed. And at that point, the Jews kind of know who they are, and they go, something, America's Zion. And if America's Zion, San Francisco must be Jerusalem. So then in 1918, the rabbi, Martin Meyer, says, something? We should build the third temple. And so if you look at the blueprints of the second temple and you lay it right down, that is what they built.
Really?
Yeah, it's unbelievable. You don't realize it, so you can look on Google Maps and lay the two things next to each other and you see it. It is the third temple, and it doesn't face east because they're like, we're already in Jerusalem. Why would I face east? It faces north.
That's incredible.
And so what we did was that we actually went back to the original architecture, which is like kind of going up the stairs of the main procession into the main sanctuary, which back then was to the Holy of Holies, and recaptured that, but then also did a big shift. Because, I mean, you probably remember when we got there, is that, we'd be in services, we would have a full room, and everyone would stare at the rabbi. The place was all about the rabbi. And I remember, I think it was like my second year, I'm like, this is really unhealthy, because we're not a temple, like we're a synagogue. Synagogue are about the people, not about the rabbi. And so like the objective of this was take the rabbi out of the picture. There's no place for the rabbi in the new design. It's like a beehive, and it's meant to be the town center of San Francisco, where you have this courtyard, but you have glass all around and classrooms around, and you can hear the preschool kids, you can hear everything happening at all times, where it's, if you want to know what is Jewish life happening in San Francisco, it's all trying to be right there.
The biggest question coming from a suburban rabbi now, you spent $117 million. Are there parking spaces?
There's no parking spaces.
No parking spaces.
We looked into parking spaces. They said if we did parking, we would get 12 spaces at $1.5 million a spot.
Wow, that's a good price in San Francisco.
I mean,
you can build a toilet in that for San Francisco, I hear.
We have no parking spaces. But we also, when we were doing it, is all future proofing.
Yeah.
And we already had Waymos and self-driving testing before people were using them. And you could see something was about to change.
Yes.
And, AI has been in the mix for a little bit. And so we also wondered, will cars still exist in 10 years?
That's a good point.
Or are you going to just lease a car, rent a car, and it's a service and no point in having a car anyway?
You're going to laugh at us. At our synagogue, the number one constraint we have on programming is parking. And that's because there is a single lane road that goes by our synagogue, and that we, on heavy religious school days, can clog it up a quarter mile in each direction with no one being able to pass by. Ooh. And it's a huge hazard, and there's no way to get around it.
People already have enough issues with the Jews. You're going to do that to us? Be careful.
So another big difference, I think, when I came to Bethel, is that in Westchester, there are just more synagogues, and synagogues tend to be based in different neighborhoods or different towns or hamlets.
Yeah.
I had to learn about hamlets when I came to New York. It's a whole weird system. I live in a town, but a separate hamlet from where the school district is. It makes no sense. Just
I
stick
will
with me here.
chat GPT all of this
Yeah.
later on. Yeah, I understand.
So most often people will go to the synagogue that's in their local town, regardless of denomination, because we have school provided busing in most of the districts.
From the public schools.
Yes, to and from public schools. So religious school will take you. So most of our middle school religious schools on weekdays, which means the bus comes to the public school, picks the kids up and brings them directly to our synagogue. So if you want to go to a synagogue of another town, you have to be willing to forego the convenience
That's
of
incredible.
that bus. So right now, I'd say with our grades, we have about 60% of the kids coming from our local school district where we are in Chappaqua, about 20% from Pleasantville, about 15% in Briarcliff. These are adjacent areas. Some others from Armonk and from Bedford. But really, it's 2 or 3 school districts, and that for us is much more diverse than when I first got there. What's it like in San Francisco? I remember at one point there was something like 70 different school districts.
110 different schools funnel into Emanuel.
So is your role, part of it is just to have the people meet each other and get to know each other, and especially
I mean, versus the synagogue I grew up in. Where I grew up in, it was like my second home. You knew everybody. There was like 3 schools.
This was Beth Am and Los Altos, right?
Yes.
Which is just outside of Palo Alto for people. Yes.
This is not that, and so it's like a whole extra I mean, but I would say it's the city-wide thing. So yes, for the kids, we need to do more intention. And you also started the beginning was like you pushed kids up to Camp Newman at a younger age than anyone had, because you were asking the question of how do you have kids get to know each other. And
we did those weekends up there back then.
And then Newman burned down and we had to kind of figure it out, and we rebuilt it. It's back. So that's the thing we have to do, but it's also just synagogue wide you have to do, because San Francisco is a transient city. Our churn rate, if you look at, it looks like we're a steady 2000. We're not. You actually look at the churn rate. I remember inside.
It used to be a churn rate of like almost like 10-15% a year of the synagogue was going through.
Yeah,
which is crazy.
If you look at joining members, hundreds of people are always joining, and then other people are leaving town. And then when we, now we have this AI boom, and so more people are going to start coming in, and you kind of see those numbers start to increase again. You see it with young adults, and people come from the East Coast and they live there, and then I never meant to stay, and then I accidentally stayed for 30 or 40 years. And so you all across all of the age brackets, it's always has to be kind of the front of your mind of how do you make sure that people know each other, because they don't necessarily know each other. And with most of social system structures, kind of like bowling leagues and those, we were talking about that earlier today, gone. We become the place where we're pushing people into each other to be able to know each other's stories and know each other's names.
I'm going to tell you something that's going to blow your mind right now. When we schedule B'nai Mitzvah dates 4 years in advance at our synagogue.
They think we're crazy for 3 years in advance.
4 years in advance. Someone in each town creates a town Google Doc where all the different synagogues, people input where the kid is having the service and when the party is. And then there's the whole jockeying around who's going to have which dates and when their celebrations are when, because a kid may be invited to 25, 30 B'nai Mitzvah in a year.
Wow.
Right? And just every week going again. And most of those are coming from the same school district. And so it's this careful tiptoeing dance to make sure that you're not redundant with another kid who shares the same friend group. We're in the middle of doing this right now. We are scheduling our 2029 B'nai Mitzvah right now.
Wow.
And I'm telling you that for the parents, it is a nightmare scenario trying to figure out the right date that is not going to infringe on someone else's date or compete against someone from the same school district.
You don't have to worry about the dates. You only have to do your own dates inside.
We do, but the parents that we are supporting are dealing with this, and so there's always a ramification for that. We are downstream from that. So I'll get a call that'll say, I have my kid's bar mitzvah date, but this other synagogue gave a family the same date as ours, and they didn't ask us first or go on the Google Doc, and now they're having a celebration that night, and they're on the same soccer team as my kid, and they're going to invite all the same kids, and so now we don't know what to do, and we have to help them figure that out.
Wow.
Yes. Suburban life, my friend.
It is quite different. I mean, we have some crossover where it's like, but it's more last minute. One of the private schools says, hey, we're going on a trip this weekend, and then people have to move. But we have, every morning we have 2 going on in parallel. And so getting anything open is very hard. We don't have a lot of spaces open.
This weekend, we have a 10th through 12th grade trip happening, and we have 39 kids going on the trip, and 38 of them are from the same high school. And so I had to write the letter to the principal to say, I'm so sorry, but 38 kids are going to be missing the last day of the semester, the first day of the second semester.
Unbelievable.
Crazy, right?
Very different world.
Yes. So another big difference that I found, and I found it fascinating in my rabbinate to serve such different environments and to learn like different ways of being a rabbi and things that do work or things that don't work.
Yeah.
And I've had to change. I've been able to keep the same. So one of the bigger differences I found is that, like, very commonly, not for everyone, of course, but very commonly, people who are in our area are from our area, have multiple generations of family in our area, have high school friends from our area, went to college in our area, or went to a school like Michigan, where a lot of people from Westchester go to school. And there is this entire family network around them. And I remember in San Francisco, so many of the people, I mean, you're the outlier here. So many people in San Francisco are not from San Francisco. Yeah. There's so many transplants. So let me ask you what, if this is the same for you still. It was a surprise for me coming to Westchester that high holiday morning services are much more highly attended than the Erev services. And I remember, maybe I remember that at Emanuel, the evening services were much more attended because it's not like people were driving off to Long Island to go to a Rosh Hashanah dinner, that there was much more availability for the evening services.
I don't know if it's a little bit. The gross numbers, you can't see it because the evenings we do 2 services.
Right.
For that reason, so it doesn't visually look the same.
Right.
When the morning service is standing room only inside the room. So that looks bigger, but the actual number differential is like 400 or 500, I think. So it's there probably.
I remember at one point us toying with the idea of doing a Rosh, I think it was your idea actually, to do a Rosh Hashanah, an Erev Rosh Hashanah dinner at the synagogue, because there were people coming to our services who didn't have anywhere to go
that was one
afterwards.
Crazy ideas, yeah.
Great idea.
Yeah.
But it just speaks to the need at the time that people don't have those family networks around.
No, it's true, and that was part of it. You know, one of the things we just did just this year is we hired our own chef in-house.
Go on, like a catering, or
no, we hired a chef. Like,
okay.
part of it, we were looking at the amount of money we were spending on food.
Right.
I took all of our data and I crunched it through AI, and then having it do some deep research on what food prices and staffing costs and so on and so forth. We found out the amount we're about to pay the next year, it would actually come down. We would save about $20,000 a year by hiring a chef. We could increase the quality, but we also could make it, because we're always trying to push people into each other.
Right.
That Friday nights that you don't know anyone in town, we're going to introduce you to somebody and try to build those communities out.
Does that mean for a bar bat mitzvah who wants to have
their celebration? They cannot have that chef.
Oh, I thought they were going to say they have to have that chef.
No, Monday through Friday. And we go over 100 people, so that we can go about to 100, and then we need to go catering when we get past 100.
Fascinating. Interesting. So I was saying, so in our synagogue, for example, I had seen in San Francisco the trend of people leaving after Yisker and not staying for Nila, but I had never seen anything like what happens in the East Coast.
What happens to the East Coast?
You finish Yisker, and 95% of the people get up and walk out, and that is uniform throughout.
Maybe your sermon for Yisker needs to be better. Maybe that's a sign of what you're seeing there.
No, I told them they have to go hug their loved ones, and they all no.
We got to go right now.
Everyone has a break the fast to go to in New Jersey or Long Island or in the city, and they've got their brisket that's on warmer at the house, and everyone gets up and just goes. And my first couple of years, I tried to guilt them, be like, hey, it's really nice, stay. It's going to be 30, 40 minutes of Nila. It's the best part of it's the most optimistic, celebratory part of the high holidays.
We don't like optimism. We're out of here for the brisket.
You remember, like, at a certain point, we try to lead our congregation, and at some point, we need to follow and learn like who they are. And that was a big learning point for me. Was that is sacrosanct to them, is the ability to drive out and to be with their family networks for break the fast. It's a huge deal. They also, is this the San Francisco thing too? Or I was surprised to come to the East Coast. They eat matzo ball soup for every Jewish holiday. It's not just a Passover thing.
You know what San Franciscans do?
What? They eat bacon.
Did you know that? No. Lox and bagels.
Everything?
Meal. Oh my goodness. You go to a shiva, it's 7 p.m. at night, lox and bagels.
It's
because it's like, that's the Jewish thing.
That's us with babka. Babka, everything.
Really?
I don't know if you remember this, but when I was interviewing at Bethel, every round I got further, they gave me another chocolate babka. I'm not kidding. There's a great babka place in town. And at one point, Yael, my wife came, she made it into like bread pudding and I brought it into the staff meeting. Be like, please, someone else eat a babka because they ate so much babka. That and brisket for everything.
Wow.
Yes.
No, I mean,
As a
people have it. No, it's lox and bagels at every event you can imagine. Because I think people, that's like kind of the extent of our Jewish culinary knowledge is limited. But I'm a West Coaster, so I don't really know. I can tell you Mexican food, Jewish food. I don't know Jewish food.
So here's another big difference I experienced. Because we live in the suburbs and most of the people coming to us are coming from New York City, at our synagogue, we have almost no one in their 20s.
Wow.
Almost no one in their 20s. And then people start coming when you have like 1.5 children, and you realize that preschool in New York City is going to be $50,000-$60,000 a year for a half day preschool. People start doing the numbers and start moving into the suburbs.
Cheaper when you only have 1.5 kids. You have to pay two tuition.
Exactly. And so people come up to the suburbs at that point. They will. In our town, the taxes are very high because the schools are very good. They're funded by the school taxes. So very often, once people have become empty nesters, very often they will downsize. And downsizing often means them moving back to New York City or to Florida, somewhere else, which means that we have this huge chunk of the synagogue is from, let's say, 30 to 65 years old. And we have tiny numbers, like let's say none from 20 to 30, and let's say very small percent of our congregation compared to other synagogues, 65 or above. We have very little white hair in our synagogue for a synagogue of our size. That we have 700 families, but we have over 500 kids in our religious school,
wow.
Which is the ratio is just crazy.
It's crazy.
Whereas at Emanuel, one of the real specialties of Emanuel it's known for is its young adult programming. Is that still the case that young adults are a huge part of what you do there?
Yeah, I mean, we shut down young adult, basically went totally dormant during COVID.
Okay.
We were like, what's going to happen?
Like, will it come back?
When we turn it back on, will it come back?
Yeah.
It was 2 years and it's a transient city. And
people forget.
Exploded. That 500 people showing up on second Friday for Shabbat. And so we have this big, very robust young population.
Yeah.
Inside of there.
Tons of weddings have come out of that young adult oneg.
Oh, we've made a lot of babies.
I remember at one point the oneg there we had sushi, we had beer kegs.
Beer kegs, we still have that. We have wine and we have a taco truck.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
But does the chef cook for that or is that a different thing?
That's different, too many people.
And then do you still have a large empty nester population? I remember we used to do programs in the Towers, right? Was that the name of the
Towers? Yeah.
Right, that was a retirement community there.
Yeah. And we do have a lot of empty nesters, but I would say, the ages run from in their 20s.
Right.
And Rita Semmel is 104 now.
Oh my goodness.
Sitting every single Friday, front row on the left.
Oh, that's amazing.
And so, it crosses the whole span. But like strange it is, as large as Emanuel is, our religious school is 600 kids.
Right, because you have all these young adults.
Mitzvahs are a little more than you, but not much. We're like 80 to 90.
We are all families with kids. It is so much dominated that way. We have, I think, the same numbers. I think we have 70-something madrachim this year. You probably have a madrachim program similar to that. Your teen program. I remember, at least I'm remembering, but this is going back 2014, so I don't know.
A teen program is
the same.
It's gotten much bigger in the past 8 years.
That's amazing. What have you done to make that work?
Shifted the time.
Yeah, too?
Turns out holding the kids past lunchtime on a Sunday didn't work.
No.
But by placing in the middle of the Sunday school and like plucking them out inside there as they're teaching, the numbers have swelled.
That's great. That's great.
And that was Rabbi Jason Rodich. That was all his idea and it totally worked.
Oh, that's very good. Yeah. Ooh, I think now he's in Minnesota.
Yeah, Minnesota.
Minneapolis. Yeah. Okay. So I was talking to you about some other generalities around East Coast, West Coast. And I was making the point, and I've said this at congregants as well.
Brisket locks. That's what we got so far. Buses, no buses.
Because people come from deeper family networks in the area, I find, versus my time in San Francisco, that New York Jews tend to be more conservative. And I'm not going to make the case of political conservative because that's not the case. But in some, we're in I would say in a purple region overall, but that's not the point I'm trying to make. It's that because people have lived closer to home and have networks closer to home, I find them to be more traditional in many of their choices. This also means that when people, there are families that are synagogue that go to the same vacation every single summer to like Cape Cod or to Long Beach Island, and maybe that's the place where they went growing up. Even they'll send their kids to summer camp. Maybe it's the same summer camp that they grew up going to as well. That they're less about experimentation. I know that San Francisco is so entrepreneurial. In New York, much more of our families come from more standard professions, banking, corporate marketing, or work, lawyers, doctors. Whereas I felt in San Francisco, there was sort of this fake it till you make it. People were constantly changing jobs and it was very entrepreneurial. And as .com was moving into, now you're saying AI and such, do you still find that your population is so entrepreneurial that way?
Yeah, I think my sense is there's something in the water there. And I don't think it's a new thing. I think it's gone back a very long time. There's something about the area that just tends to be about 5 years in front of other places with the discussions and thoughts that are being had, which I honestly didn't really realize till Hartman. When I joined Hartman and I'm going to the East Coast more and talking with East Coast rabbis, very smart rabbis, the discussions happening are like what we talked about that 5 years ago.
Yeah.
And so I'm not sure what causes it, but there is kind of maybe it's that we're on the edge of the continent overlooking the ocean.
Well, it's an incubator, right? I mean, you've got in Stanford there, and you've got the
yes, but if you
Valley,
go back, even like Emanuel is the first woman cantor in the history of Judaism, starts at Emanuel in the 1800s. You can find all of these things that like first young adult program, that's Emanuel.
Yeah.
Like you can just find first after first. And a lot of the times I don't think they're thinking we got to be first.
Right.
It's more
it's logical. It's like, of course you just do that.
I think there's a hunger. There's something, it's going back to when I was saying that people thought, well, this must be Jerusalem.
Yeah.
Is that I think there's like something intrinsic inside of Judaism.
Yeah.
Which rejects the world as it is because we can dream what it ought to be.
Yeah.
And therefore always kind of dreaming forward. And why the Bay Area has been a place, even though we have very low affiliation rate, like one of the lowest in the United States, if not the lowest. There's something about always just like looking on the horizon of what's the next thing.
Right.
And so when we try things all the time and fail, and it's just an expectation, no one gets upset. Everyone kind of like, they want you to fail all the time. That's been in there since we were there.
Right.
Like the young adult, when they started young adult, it was a crazy idea. It was
I remember going to young adult when I first moved to San Francisco after college in 98, 99 and being wowed by this amazing program with
and it loses money. It's like, we don't make money off it.
But it's an investment, I assume. Yeah.
It's an investment for the Jewish people, not for Emanuel. Because most people can't afford, they don't stay in the city. Most people go and they feed other synagogues everywhere else.
I remember that. We were a feeder to the East Bay. So many, I did all these weddings and everyone moved to Orinda afterwards.
Yeah, but I mean, the idea that I could sit there and like, why don't we just like risk it? We think it's good for the Jews. Who knows if it'll work? Let's try it. Oh, it worked. Let's just keep doing it institutionally.
Yeah.
There's something about that.
Interesting. Another on the risk front, there's a huge difference between ritualistically as well about conservatism versus entrepreneurialism. I'm joking, but there's truth to this, that you ask a New York couple who got to get married, what do you want your wedding to be like? And they will say unequivocally, traditional. Traditional means, Rabbi, keep it short and sweet. Don't throw any bells and whistles, right? Like 20, 25 minutes max. We're going to check the boxes. We're going to move on. San Francisco, what do you want your wedding to be like? Well, we'd like our friend to come in and do a poem. We feel like there's a Native American ritual we'd like to hearken to. We have a friend that, juggles on a unicycle. I'm joking, but there was a lot more interest in customizing.
I think also getting like the intentionality behind it.
Yes.
Is that this is a sacred moment. How do I like squeeze it out of it to make sure it actually has meaning and it's not perfunctory and I'm just doing it.
Yeah. I had a friend say to me the other day, it was a quote, that there's a difference between being polite and being nice. And that they felt that West Coast people were polite, but not always nice. And New Yorkers are nice, but not polite. That is that in the East Coast culture is more to tell someone how you actually feel. It's less polite, but there's a sweetness behind it. Whereas on the West Coast, there's a feeling of artificiality. This was a very New York.
It's New York. But I will say, Lisa, my wife, what she does say to me, she goes, Brian, you are too East Coast for the West Coast. Because I tell people exactly what I'm thinking. I'm like, at least I'm direct. You know what I think. I think everyone knows I'm telling you the truth. Even if I upset you, at least I'm telling you the truth.
Yeah.
And there's no, I heard a comment once, and I don't think this is true, but I did hear this comment that I thought was clever. They said the difference between Wall Street and Silicon Valley is that in Silicon Valley, they smile when they stab you in the back.
I think that goes to the same point. Like there is in New York, there is definitely an upfrontness to this, and it's something that I personally find refreshing. I speak that language more myself. I remember when I took the job at Bethel, the senior rabbi we both worked for, Rabbi Pierce, said to me, "Oh, you'll do well there. You talk fast." And that was his honest response in return to it.
What about the Hawaii of you from like that one extreme to this extreme? How do those two things relate?
I, again, half jokingly often say that my job is, as a West Coast Jew, is to tell East Coast Jews that they can be Jewish and happy at the same time. That there is such a overwhelming sense of lachrymose Judaism,
Really?
of people who hated their religious school
I get
experience.
that from the East Coast.
Yeah,
usually they grew up conservative in the East Coast.
Yes,
and they were like, no,
they left the whole thing, and
we have some more than one say, if I would have known this what it could have been like, I would have been a rabbi. I get that all the time.
Yes, I get that too, and I feel like there is generational trauma that we deal with of those who really experienced feelings of isolation, of rejection, a loneliness when they were in the religious school growing up, and that a lot of what I learned at Emanuel was about a religious school that was much more experiential and moving through different mediums. And we've taken perhaps in an nth degree at our synagogue. We teach our young kids about the value of caring for animals. And so we have a flock of baby goats that comes to our synagogue in the spring, and our kids do like shepherding, like down like this little nature area right there. That's as pretty experiential as it gets. But so much of what we're trying to do, I feel, is to undo some of the harm caused by that sort of the classical East Coast gloom and doom of Judaism. Yep. And I know that when I sit with a potential congregant, when I talked about the synagogue, and I talked about how, for me, so much of being a rabbi is to offer a much more positive, optimistic, enjoyable experience than I had as a child. Even though my synagogue in Hawaii wasn't terrible by any means, 100 out of 100 times they always thought, oh my God, yes, I hated going to religious school. I didn't like synagogue. And when we tell them that the kids at the synagogue actually run in enthusiastically, which is something that I learned at Emanuel, that we had that people were genuinely happy to be there. And I think there is something West Coast more about that, of not having the inherited baggage of, oh, you have to be Jewish for the memory of the 6 million. If you're Jewish, not to give Hitler a posthumous victory.
Yeah, and I think there's an even bigger thing is that, you'll have people who are not from San Francisco say, they quit Emanuel, where are they going to go? And the answer is nowhere. They're going to go like you choose to be there. It's all like you could just not do anything. That's what 87% of San Francisco does. They choose nothing.
Right.
And so, there's a real selection bias of who's there. But you also, I think, have to reveal the meaning and the joy behind it. Or like, why would I show up? I just won't go.
Well, a similar thing to that is that in San Francisco, because it was founded not by Orthodox Jews, there is no specifically Jewish neighborhood, right? So it didn't be
not anymore. They're kind of what,
like the Fillmore for a while, kind of nothing. I mean, in New York, like to go to Kew Gardens in Queens, or to go to Muncie in Spring Valley in like Rockland County. I mean, Jewish.
Yeah, no, but that was also the people heading west. They want to get away from it.
Right.
And the weird thing about that number, the 12% affiliation rate, is that Fred Rosenbaum, who now lives in New York, since they've been checking what is the affiliation rate from the late 1800s till now, has never changed.
I mean, it's always been low.
It's always been 12. Now, part of the answer is that we always match with where we're from. If you're in Nashville, Tennessee, it's through the roof because it's a high church affiliation rate.
Yes, I guess
so. So there's something to that as well.
Something about joiners and overall.
But it is individualistic. Like you're going west to like the end of the frontier.
You're leaving that family network behind, and you are pursuing something
totally new.
When I tell congregants that since I've been 18 years old, I have not lived within 1,000 miles of my parents. And that's like mind blowing to many of our congregants who have lived within 10 miles. Or, I recently met with a prospective congregant. They're from New Rochelle. The other spouse is from Scarsdale. And they are the furthest of all of their siblings to move away by moving to Chappaqua, which is 25 minutes. They moved north of the 287, which is it's like the east-west middle belt of Westchester, and they were the farthest that moved away.
And everyone thinks I'm a homebody because I live an hour from my parents and an hour from my sister. My other two sisters live out of state.
Yeah.
But, it's like, oh, that's a native.
Right.
They're all within a few hours of each other.
So I was going to, the point about not having like a kosher Jewish neighborhood is that I felt when I was in San Francisco, you're saying that you need to really join the synagogue to experience the like Jewish community in the sense of Jewish time. If it was Rosh Hashanah or Yom Kippur and you weren't at the synagogue, if you just walked around San Francisco, you would have no idea.
No idea.
I think one of the happiest moments for me was my first year coming to Bethel, and there's a local bakery in town, the same one with the babka. It's called Susan Lawrence. Shout out. And if you go to Susan Lawrence for the 2, 3, 4 weeks before Rosh Hashanah, everyone in there is ordering Rosh Hashanah meals, talking about what they're serving for Rosh Hashanah. Like there's just it's like it's in the air that high holidays are there, that you feel it in a palpable way that I mean, coming from Hawaii, I'd never experienced, and living in San Francisco, but there is this.
You have to be engaged. It happens in the WhatsApp groups. It happens in the synagogue.
Right, but the opposite is you don't necessarily need the synagogue in order to feel that engagement. There's so much Judaism in the air that way that some people feel as though, oh, once my youngest kid has gone through B'nai Mitzvah, I don't need that because there's the milieu, there's the Yiddishkeit that's there in New York. I don't need the synagogue affiliation for it. Whereas I think in San Francisco, and maybe this is a false assumption, please prove me wrong, if so, that people need the synagogue more in order to experience that Jewish feeling.
I think that's right.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that's part of this construction was we wanted to make like the town center for Judaism in San Francisco.
Yeah.
Where that would be the place. And, it's filled now. People are doing the work there. It's like, it's a real thing.
Right.
Because if you want to do it, you've got to go to a place. It's not just everywhere.
Right. Because the fact that you don't have, again, these different school districts and you have less synagogues in the area overall, I mean, Emanuel, if I remember correctly, it's like market share of San Francisco County in terms of Jewish affiliation is, I mean, you're 2,000 families. What's the next largest synagogue in San Francisco? Is it 500 families?
No, I think it's maybe 300 or 400.
So, right. So you're, what is that, like 75% bigger than, more than, you're like triple the size of the next.
It's one of the dangers of Emanuel.
Yeah.
Is that Emanuel, for now quite a long time, is the big synagogue, which means if we don't serve the Jewish people well and we start dropping the ball, we're failing the future of Judaism. It's not like in New York City,
right,
where if Central stops doing a good job, a lot of other people are going to pick up the slack real quickly. There's other big places that are functioning that are.
It's interesting that way. You're not to mention the fact that Emanuel is in the northwest corner of San Francisco, right by the Golden Gate Bridge, meaning easy access to parts of Marin.
Marin, we have 400 families in Marin.
That's it. When I was there, we at some point had satellite religious school going on in Marin. Is that still a thing, or did you want to make them more about the community?
We do. We have satellite religious school. We have like Hebrew school happening over there.
I think we did it at the time, like down in Noe Valley as well. We had some, and we used to do young adult like family services in Potrero Hill, like up on the hill.
Also, Emanuel. Now we've been testing out Marin Shabbat services for young families.
Wow,
because that's the lowest of the Bay Area is Marin. So we're trying to solve for
the lowest affiliation rates.
Yeah.
So you really feel like those are your areas of growth and opportunities. You're really expanding to both north.
Currently, San Francisco and Marin.
Wow.
I think in the future maybe it'll be bigger, but right now that is like what we're focused on.
It sounds like in San Francisco, a lot of the big growth of the city is like around the Mission Bay area and south of like where the Giants play and now where the Warriors play as well. Are those areas that you're servicing? Are you seeing Jewish growth down there? Or those are areas where like
we're not seeing a lot coming to us because it's so far away.
Right.
It's like 45 minutes to an hour drive.
Even though it's like 6 miles.
7. Yeah, 6 or 7.
Yeah.
6, 7.
Oh my goodness.
I had to put it on here.
Please. Go on.
But I do know from the data coming out of PJ Libraries that it is the fastest growing young Jewish families, like where books are being requested.
So they'll be going more to South San Francisco, down towards like Burlingame and those suburbs.
I think so.
Unless that's an area for you to think about.
They affiliate. But that's the question.
Right.
You have to make it attractive and make it so it's something you want to do. It's not, people are not obligated to do it. That's the real difference.
So in wrapping up, I feel like I don't want to make this go too long, although I love this and I could talk to you all day about these things. What do you see now that you have this brand new sparkling building? What are your what are your goals, your things you're looking forward to do in the next, let's say 5-10 years? What's the mission? What's the plan for where you're going to go?
I mean, right now what we're trying to do is that the focus is very much, in-house, in-person, face-to-face, and depth. We want depth in everything we do. We want, that you basically from when you walk in that it's not just like, hey, how are you? Like, and not really meaning it, but the
Right.
conversation should be real. As you go, when you come from a place that you're not related to anybody, you have to make sure people know your story. So we're always trying to go a layer deeper. We're trying to do it with the music, with the prayer, with the food. That was part of the chef, was like, we shouldn't just get catered food. That's just food. There's no meaning behind it. We have to make sure everything has meaning in what we do.
Right.
We're trying to make sure we do everything is excellent, but we're also at the same time inside of there trying to be really expansive and saying that, we have something to say to the city of San Francisco, way more outward facing, but also bringing in people to come and hear what we have to say as well, that are Jewish and not Jewish. And I also think the expansion of what is, we even just changed our bylaws. They used to be very rigid of, who could be a member. You had to be Jewish but it was just not really real, because if you're married, if you're in an interfaith marriage and your Jewish husband dies, I'm not going to tell you you can't be a member of the synagogue. You're a part of the Jewish community.
We had that case at Emanuel back when I was still there. There was an Irish non-Jewish father of I
remember that.
And the Jewish mother passed away.
And the kids went all the way through the high school.
And he was amazing. Yep. And the kids, I think, did Madrachim as well.
Yeah, went all the way through.
Yes. And I think that you want to lift those people up and honor them with everything you can.
And I was thinking after October 7th, I think people saw it of like, those are my Jewish kids, even though I am part of the Jewish community.
Right.
It's more of like, I think we're really tight in our definition of what a Jew was in the past few hundred years. When you look at the book of Ruth, she's like, your people are my people.
Yeah.
And like, that would make you part of the community.
So you brought up about post October 7th, and I think I should at least ask about this. Of course, there's sort of this mythology or stigma, and people from one coast like to, look down on the other one, but there's
I hope we get looked down on. Do we do it?
No, because I think San Francisco is clearly on the rebound, and the mayor is a member of the synagogue. I mean,
the synagogue, and his father was a rabbi.
Was a rabbi at the synagogue. I remember all of this. Yeah. Absolutely. What's it like being outwardly Jewish in San Francisco? What's the anti-Semitism like there? I understand there's this. Since I left, Manny's is a place in the Mission, which is a Jewishly Israeli owned, or just a Jewishly owned?
Jewishly owned, outwardly Jewishly facing. They have Jewish congregation,
and it's been graffitied and such. SF State was firebombed. Yeah, where you at?
Where you are in the city.
Okay.
I think if you're at where Emanuel is in that area, you don't see much of anything, and it's like
you can walk down the street with a kippah on and feel okay.
100%. And we like very close relation with the neighborhoods. We work at the church across the street every Saturday. We work in a food bank, arm in arm together.
Really? That church back in the day was not such a
new pastor.
Oh, that church did not love Israel back in the day.
Not love Israel.
No.
We're in new times now.
Oh, very good.
And but the further I go into different parts of the city, like in the Mission, then it gets their anti-Semitism. There is more anti-Semitism.
You see,
so I think it matters where you're in the city. I would say generally in San Francisco. Mm-hmm. And I'm making a generalized statement. It's that I think it appears worse in the media than it is. There are real issues. Oakland in the East Bay is a completely different story.
Would you live there Jewishly now?
No.
In both Oakland and Berkeley, or just Oakland?
I wouldn't live in either one right now.
Right. And what's one further north of there?
No, I'm friends with the Orthodox rabbi that lives in Oakland.
Jonathan Cohen,
but also Gershon Alpert.
Oh, very good. Yeah.
Gershon is in my Hartman group.
Okay.
And, they have a very tight community, and one of his members, he has his Israeli flag outside the house, and nothing happens.
But you would say the exact same thing in New York. There are certain areas, especially in Queens, Brooklyn, where you would not want to walk around with a kippah on, and you'd be afraid of what's going to happen. There was, a year and a half ago, I would not walk by Columbia's campus with the kippah on. Still, there's areas there where I would not feel safe that way. So I think you would say the same thing. I think living in the suburbs, it's different as well. We live in a very Jewish suburb, and even within our suburb, there have been all sorts of incidents that have occurred that need to be addressed as well.
But we've also very intentionally had very deep and close relationships in the interfaith community.
Let me ask you a question. Yeah. A lot of us in the Jewish world, those relationships with the Muslim community have been challenging and frayed since October the 7th.
Not.
That's amazing. What makes that work? How'd you do that?
I think it's just staying, having really open, honest conversations. And I even got I think it was the DC shooting.
Yeah.
Or was the Colorado shooting? I'm sorry, I can't remember.
I know so many of them to remember. Yes.
My phone rings, and it is one of the Muslim leaders of the community who just called to say, "I am so sorry."
I am so jealous. I'm so appreciative, first of all, to hear that happened.
But we sit down. We don't agree on politics.
Right.
DC thing, word she will use to describe the war in Gaza, I would never use.
Right.
And there's things we don't agree on, and we love each other. And like we're working on it and trying to work through it the whole time. But I there's something I think about being on the edge, just like we have a Chabad rabbi who's beginning to teach a class at Emanuel in the next few months too. But it's
my buddy Gedalia, or no, a different one.
It'll be Gedalia, yes.
I just saw him. We went to the Ohel. We went to Schneerson's grave together, and then we went to 770 Eastern Park. We went to Chabad headquarters, went out to dinner. When he was there they have the meeting of all the 6,000. I was there for the Guinness with him.
Wow, I'm sure you blended right in.
He's a great guy. Yeah, we did shots together, then went into the Ohel together. He's really great because we're born literally one day apart, and so we turned 50 one day apart from each other. And he's a mensch of mensches.
Yeah, he is.
And we've got a good relationship with the Chabad near us as well. Okay, I get you off on one last question. I said, and just with one, Warriors are barely treading water over 500. At what point do you trade Steph Curry for draft picks, and would he go to the Knicks or to the Nets?
We would never trade Steph Curry, and that was an offensive question.
It's time, don't you think?
No, absolutely not.
Why don't you just send him to the Mavericks and let him reunite with Clay, just to at least ride off to the
Clay will be coming back to the Warriors as well.
And you will get bounced out of the play-in game for the next 5 years. So be it, you say.
I mean, it's kind of what it feels like it's going to be.
Yes.
But our whole team, we all get discounts now to the movie theaters because we're also old, the basketball team. So that's good.
Oh, I thought you were going to say at Emanuel had a hookup to you.
No.
But I was going to say,
the oldest
who still goes to movie theaters?
The Warriors.
Exactly.
All of the Warriors players are still on Facebook. That's how old they are.
This has been so enjoyable. Thank you. I'm very, very appreciative. It is late at night over here, and so Rabbi Bauer isn't being able to sit down with me and to do so. Or at least you're coming from California time. I'm coming from East Coast time. Thank you so much. And if and when you're in the New York area and you come up from time to time, feel free to come visit us anytime. Now you have a whole bunch of new fans. Okay? Thanks, everyone. Have a good night.
Thanks for joining us on In Such a Time. Make sure to subscribe wherever you listen to your podcasts. To learn more about Rabbis Jonathan Jaffe and Leora Landi, or to connect with Temple Bethel of Northern Westchester, visit bethelnw.org, or follow us on Instagram and Facebook at Temple Bethel NW. Thanks for listening.